Welcome everyone to this webinar about AI in e-learning authoring. And it is an interesting topic. And I recently had a webinar for a larger audience about this topic as well. And I thought that maybe I'd do a rerun because there was so much interest in it that it's really it seems really that AI is a really hot topic at the moment. All right, a short marketing slide. So about IMC and about myself. IMC, the company I'm working at, is a German-based company. We've been founded a long time ago, back in the last millennium. And we produce a product that's called IMC Learning Suite, which is a very large learning management system. So that is our main product. And then we have an agency that creates bespoke content. It's called IMC Studios. And I'm head of IMC Express, which is an authoring tool that is AI supported. And that's why I want to talk to you about what's possible and what will be possible and what is reality today. And from my personal experience, I've been in the e-learning market for a very long time now. basically, it's more than 25 years. Actually, it's 28. And if you want to have more information about us, you can find us at that website that's mentioned in the handout. All right. What are we going to talk about today? First of all, I want to introduce you to the setting, what's happened in the last, let's say, 10 to 15 years in the e-learning authoring market, and what has changed with the dawn of the AI age coming. What does it mean? Why does it seem a good fit? What are the major AI players on the market? And all that stuff. And also, there's the main part that is the practical example part. What practical examples can I show you? You will see there's a lot of things that AI can really help with at the moment. And we're going to take a look at what you can do now already and what you can do in the near future. In terms of what you can do now, we will see a lot of screens naturally that are out of our product, our IMC Express product, because I certainly know it intimately, and it does incorporate 90% of all the features that are possible today. So we'll see a lot about that. And then in the end, we will have time for questions and answers. And you can even try it out later if you like to, and see how it works for you. Anyways, let's start with the setting. Setting means that I think that everything in terms of content creation has led to this now. And we're in the age of user-generated content. Everything's made for citizen developers. And it started out totally different. It started out with WPT, that means web-based trainings. They needed to be developed, they needed to be programmed. And then there came the dot-com crisis in the early 2000s, and we had the step to more cost-efficient methods. And then we had the emergence of authoring tools, and some even started to say they have rapid authoring solutions. And then the mobile learning took over in let's say the years after the iPhone started the mobile trend actually. And then we had the responsive training creation for all different mobile devices, and also with increasing complexity, basically, for the mobile sector. But all of these things have been developed and designed for instructional designers, people who are creating e-learning content as their main job, And only after COVID, basically, or at the beginning of the COVID crisis, we started to talk about, there has been a buzz about user generation of content, user-generated content. What does user-generated content mean? Basically, it means that knowledge gets created and transported directly from the knowledge source to the public. So we do all of us, I think, posted something already in social networks, created possibly YouTube videos and stuff like that. All of that is user-generated content, everything from the social sector. And the question was, why doesn't it happen with e-learning content creation? Why is it so that there aren't small subject matter experts, more people in companies who have a lot of knowledge transporting that? And we still have those specific instructional designers, e-learning designers that, do that as their jobs. And I think the digitization in the COVID-19 time really, really gave the whole idea a push, and everything needed to be available quicker and more inexpensive. And AI basically really helps with getting things done faster, better, and also helps you to create things that you couldn't do before because you didn't know how to write about a certain topic so that everyone understands it and stuff like that. So it's basically the decentralization in content creation that gains importance, that is more important than ever. And that is actually the gist of it. And this is where we are now, and everything from the COVID pandemic on, and everything that has AI or is AI supported is really made for citizen developers, for people who don't do that e-learning content creation, who don't do that as their main jobs, but have a lot of knowledge and help creating content. Okay. So I posed the question in my last webinar where there were over 200, I think, people attending from all over the world, about user-generated content creation. Are you thinking about it as a company, or are you doing it already? And the interesting result was that a lot of you are thinking about it, but still have concerns to let everyone contribute in creating trainings and e-learnings, because it used to be a specialized thing, So this is 41%, which is a lot, are thinking about it, but still have concerns. And 38% doing it on a small scale, which is interesting, yeah. And 12% said they're already doing it regularly. And 9% still say, no way, we're letting only experts create content. But the definition of experts would be e-learning production experts and not subject matter experts, which I think is a distinction we need to make. So that's interesting. So that's definitely a trend. And if we look at the adoption rate of technology, in terms of how fast is technology adopted, after it emerges, we see that the gap tends to widen, because in the 70s technology didn't move as fast as it is now. And it's the same thing with AI now. It's moving so fast, and every day new things come out, that it's hard for individuals to keep pace, and even harder for businesses, because they need to have structure, they need to have strategy behind any technology that's going to be adopted in their business processes. And even further away is the public policy and our countries and institutions, large institutions, they take a longer time. But on the other hand, I think in this case with AI, it's going to get faster in terms of business adoption, because we all know in e-learning, we need a different structure. I mean, knowledge is, is so what knowledge knowledge creation is something that's so so in demand that it must be made available in a really fast and really targeted manner. You cannot go out and give the same content to a really large group, because you probably would need different things to tell different target groups. So the existing structures that are in companies in terms of creating e-learning content, they are no longer suitable for this type of structure you need, and for this type of requirements that people are posing internally. And so many companies have the problem that they have limited resources in creating e-learning content, and at the same time are really confronted with increasing demand. So that's what we hear from our clients, and IMC has lots of clients all over the world, from in really large companies, starting with really large companies down to small businesses. So all of them feel the need to transport more content, but to a more targeted audiences. So this is important. And what it means is that user-generated content creation needs to have, needs to be implemented. It needs to be there. You need to have more e-learning authors. And where does AI come in? AI really helps to support authors who are not specialized e-learning authors. And that is something that really, goes together or hand in hand with user-generated authoring. So these are the challenges. And now, if we're talking about AI, what are the major foundation models? So we have basically two types of models. We have the service models, and we have the AI model providers that are, used as a base to fine-tune specific models. So if we're talking about specific AI models for a specific context, for a specific reason, for a specific topic, then you probably would use an AI model provider that gives you the base, and you fine-tune it. And Llama is one of them, or Mistral AI, probably not as widely known as the others, which are the AI service providers on the left side. And these are tools that you can use as an underlying service in your tool. That's what we do with our authoring tool. So we use GPT-4 from OpenAI, and there's also Palm 2 and Gemini from Google that are AI service providers. Okay, so just that anyone using AI services in their tools is probably using mostly AI service providers. And some of them, the highly specialized ones, they are also called dumb AI. They are not, it's not dumb, but it's so specialized that it's almost, that it's almost, the knowledge is really just for one topic or for one thing. And for all the other stuff, it doesn't work. That's why most of them using AI service providers. Okay, this is the basis where we come from, the foundation models of AI. And now let's look into practical examples. That's why we're here, right? So to look at the practical examples on what AI can do. And I also had this question at the last webinar where I said, where I asked the question, are you already using AI-powered content creation tools? And if not, do you want to use them? So we asked this question, and it was interesting to see, and it shows the importance of the topic, I think. So the question, are you already using AI-powered content creation tools? If not, do you want to? 35% were already using tools like, that have AI in the background, but almost half of the audience said, we want to, but haven't found the right tools yet. That's pretty interesting, and that tells me that as usual, the marketing is, faster than the actual practical examples for it. So I know we've started implementing OpenAI 1.5 years ago, and it's OpenAI now. What we have in the tool, this is nothing compared to what it was 1.5 years ago. So the technology, I know it's been buzzed about and talked about for 2 or 3 years already, but it's really only working. I think real work can be done with it in the last let's say half a year or so. That's my personal opinion. So half of you are searching, 16% are not allowed to use it. So that is something, yeah, that needs to be worked on, and that's work in progress. I think some companies are still in fear of AI. It will grab all our data, it will put it on public display. And no, both things are not the case. It's just not how it works. If you talk about AI in a business context, no information that's sent to the AI is going to be stored or is going to be used to train their AI models. So no, it's not going to be public knowledge. But I understand that there's still a bit of fear, and that the legal departments are still struggling with AI. And only 1% know or don't want to. So that means there's a high interest in it. It's extremely interesting for a lot of people. And I think it's also yeah, really new. And that's why everyone likes to experiment with it. So let's look at the practical examples now. What's the first thing that comes to mind if we talk about AI? For me, it's AI translation. We all know that there has been Google Translate and Microsoft Translate and all the other programs. They have been around for ages, basically, but none of them had a deeper understanding of the text. And with the large language models that are emerging and tools like DeepL for translation, this is a really specific, tailored tool for translating text. They really have a better understanding. For example, it really understands that in the basis of a context, that if the name Georgia is in a text passage, it analyzes it and defines if it's a name, a state in the United States of America, or the country Georgia in Eastern Europe. Okay, so that's just one of those examples, and it does translation really well, and is capable to understand the meanings of paragraphs or of texts. And I think the results in the most common world languages are really so good that it's almost impossible to there's almost possible that you work without translation professionals. For some things you might still need them, but on the other hand, it's so easy. This is an example out of our tool. You just add another language. For example, you have it already in English and German. You want to add Italian. You go to a list of over 70 languages that are available. Click on the Italian and on apply, and voila. or pronto, like we would say in Italy. It's there and it's translated and it's localized. You don't need to check if there's any text that's too long or too short, stuff like that. So that is really something I think that is most common. AI translation tools are most commonly used, I think, in worldwide anyway. What is the advantage of it? I just I just always have a few words about advantages. So I think that global companies are really able to offer content in the national languages, in people's mother tongues. It's always easier than to only create content in the corporate language. And even in English spoken countries, there are lots of people, for example, speaking Spanish or Portuguese or any other language, and English is not their mother tongue, and they would do easier if you would create something for them in their own language. And with tools like IMC Express, you can do that. And we could, for example, publish in 10 different languages. It will all be in one content. And that's also important to have it all in one content and not publish 10 contents with 10 different languages, because that would be a nightmare. We all know that if we need to update the content then. So I think that's great, and that's also working. That's what large language models can do. And the next point that is connected with it is the text-to-speech engines. They have gotten better and better in the last, let's say, 10 to 15 years. And they even have the new capabilities that are on display from Siri or Alexa, which are the Apple or Amazon artificial voices, as well as the AI generated voices. They really found their way into everyday life. In most calls where you wait for something, there's an artificial engine speaking to you. And recently, even OpenAI released voices that sound almost like real people. And I think in the next even 1 year or 1 to 3 years, it will be hard to distinguish a real voice from an artificial one. And if we take a look at it and listen to the examples, I have an example out of 2021. Let's hear it.
The objective is to provide helpful tips for establishing and sustaining healthy work from home habits.
It's still a bit computery, it still sounds a bit like a robot. And then in 2022, the new voices that were available for really cheap money. I'm not talking about the artificial voices that costs thousands of dollars or euros, but from publicly available voices. So this is the 2022 voice.
The objective is to provide helpful tips for establishing and sustaining healthy work from home habits.
Sounds even better now. And the AI voices really can, make a sentence, listen to it more interesting. Let's hear it.
The objective is to provide helpful tips for establishing and sustaining healthy work from home habits.
Yeah, you could hear that the voice pauses at the right places and stuff like that. So the natural sounding voice is always the goal. And I think it might not be too long where you can say that, costs for professional speakers are irrelevant, because we would only dub stuff with artificial voices. And for us, I mean, it's clear, and that's why, for example, in our tool, we don't even have the opportunity to put in professionally recorded voices or record your own voice. We don't have that option, because when we translate stuff, we translate it with the with the text-to-speech engine, and everything's translated with one click and everything's spoken automatically and stuff like that, does really save lots of time. It's a huge amount of time and money that you can save with that. And it is what it is. But these are the most common used things, along with the third one, and that's the AI video subtitling. AI video subtitling is basically a few steps that are being combined and that look like one step. For example, you would put in a video in an e-learning content like we have here, and then with IMC Express, for example, you click on generate subtitles, and it generates the subtitles out of the existing video. And this is an English video in an English content, but yes, if you want to have it in German or in any other language, whatever it is, it needs to be translated then later by the AI translator. But first of all, it only recognizes the words that are spoken, and it needs to determine which words make out the sentence. And that's also something that AI can do. So it analyzes that and defines where is the sentence, and then sets the correct points and stuff like that. And then it's even getting translated. So these are several steps that look like one step, but it's really helpful, I think, to have AI video subtitles, because it really makes it possible to shoot a video in one language and then have the subtitling, automatic subtitling, translated to other languages. That's really helpful, and it's also cost saving. Okay, that's the video subtitles, and the next step would be video. Okay, we don't have it incorporated in our tool at the moment because there are several specific tools for AI avatar videos that really work out well. And I've got two examples for you here. One of them would be Synthesia and the other one Colossian. Synthesia is on the top, Colossian on the bottom right corner. And they are popular because they still have the wow effect. You have an avatar, you only need like 7 or 8 photographs of you to create an avatar out of yourself. And then you can have artificial voices with them, have them standing in front of a background and talk to you and create a video out of it. They are popular, yes, but they still cost money. Not quite. They're not quite cheap. But I think they're interesting, and they naturally combine several tools, like the translation tool, the text-to-speech tool, the subtitling, also the predefined avatars, your own creation, stuff like that. But they are, I think, in my experience, too complicated for the day-to-day user. It's not a tool that you would use in a user-generated content creation context. That's not that. It's too complicated, so it stays with the e-learning professionals in your company. And it's great that e-learning professionals can do the professional stuff, and all the other people, the knowledge holders that have the knowledge, they can work on tools like IMC Express, and then those things get pepped up by the professionals with avatar videos, for example. So it's too complicated for subject matter experts to work with, for people who are not using it every day. But nevertheless, it's a great addition, I think. And it brings more variation into your content projects, and it also saves cost and time for the time-consuming video shots, and they're expensive. So this is a step I would encourage you to go if you already have a user-generated content tool like IMC Express, or if you have something like traditional authoring tools. This might be a great addition to your traditional authoring tools or user-generated tools. And then there's the rewriting of text. And that is something that is really, really done well by the AI, because the large language models are really good at rewriting text in many different ways. And it really helps people who have little understanding in storytelling or have little understanding what's complicated and what's not complicated. And subject matter experts tend to be or to get very complicated. And if the recipient would be someone in sales, then it might get too complicated. But this feature really makes it possible to create something more understandable and more likable out of the raw material, raw text material. How does it work? You basically click on a paragraph, and if you click on the AI, then it gives you the option to shorten it, to simplify it, to create a funny version out of it, to write it in a positive manner, to expand the text even. So there are just one-click options, and what it does in the background is it sends out prompts to OpenAI GPT-4 and gets back gets back the results from those prompts. And it's basically, for example, if you simplify it, that does not mean it's getting shorter, because there's another way to shorten it, but it gets easier in terms of the sentences that are displayed. For example, the first sentence that would be in the old text would be two lines, is a half line in the AI modified one. So you can then decide if you want to add that or replace the existing text with it. And that's why you can rewrite complicated or extremely long texts or negative text or whatever it is, rewrite that to a more, learner-friendly text. And it really shortens the time creating stuff, and also helps the experts to produce more comprehensible texts. I think it's very important, and lots of our clients are using it, and they use it in a way that they really have their experts create content and then tell them, if you think this and that is too long, just let it rewrite or whatever. Or they let the experts create their stuff and then give it to the specialized team, the instructional design team, and they can shorten it using the AI or rewriting it, stuff like that. So that is a great thing. Also saves a lot of time and money, as usual. All of these things do. And then there's the one that's always complicated. It's the creation of interactivity. Interactivity, especially creating swipe cards or multiple choice questions, is something that isn't done in a second. It's not like you copy text out of somewhere and then you have a multiple choice question. The question might be easy, the wrong or the right answer might be easy too, but finding wrong answers that make sense and really make people think isn't that easy. And that's why we have it incorporated in the tool also, that we are able to create questions out of text. What the AI does, it analyzes the text that's above it, in the chapter above it, and tries to formulate a question out of it that actually makes sense. But a short warning, anything the AI writes for you needs to be checked and looked at if it's still correct. Because sometimes, I mean, it will be, I think, will be safer even in the future. It's still great now, but sometimes in 2% of all cases or 1% of all cases, the AI does not get it correct, you know, and that's why you need to check. I would always recommend doing that. You can't do it without it, but there's no need. It's so easy to check, you know. So for example, if you want to create a flip card or if you want to create a question, you can do that with clicking on the AI and telling the AI, just create a question out of this chapter, and it does. And if you want to create another one, this is with another one. So I think that is extremely easy, and that's one of the points that saves so much time and so much effort. And with this type of feature that AI provides, I think it's easy for everyone to create good interactivity, good questions, you know. And yeah, this is the advantage in my point of view. So what was previously only reserved for the instructional designers is really possible now for everyone. Right. Another point. What it does well is generating pictures. So in the last years, tools like Midjourney, Dolly, or Stable Diffusion came out, and they are, you know, getting better and better. Copyrights on the created pictures is something that is a bit of a gray zone, but the AI providers are fighting that fight for you, so you don't need to concern yourselves with, you know, producing pictures that might be a copyright infliction or something like that. So I really think that in the near future, this is a disruptive element. It's yeah, in the same way that creating texts is a disruptive element for certain you know, certain companies, but this is, you know, picture libraries, model agencies, actors, yeah, jobs like that, they might be endangered in the future, you know. But on the other hand, it makes artists out of all of us. Here are some examples. I've gone into IMC Express and just wrote some prompts, and this is what came out. This is, for example, a scene with a grumpy farmer and dark clouds and thunderstorm in the distance and the beer in his hands. So the better you describe it, the better it is the outcome. This, for example, is just context out of a training, and I'd like to have a nice background picture. So what I did is I took the text out of the content, put it into IMC Express image generator, and voila, I got a nice background picture that I can use. So this is what it's really great for, having nice background pictures, having pictures that depict daily scenes, stuff like that, because it does it really well. For example, this one, I told the AI that I want to have a young man pointing out to an older lady that that her wig has slipped out of place, and other passengers are not noticing because they're looking on their phones, which is it is a good picture, I think. Another example is the one.
Sorry, Ollie,
Yeah.
we've got one of our participants has raised their hand during this image section, I think.
Oh, sorry.
So,
yeah.
Claudio, shall I let you talk if you have a question? Claudio, you're live if you'd like to ask your question.
I think he's muted.
You are muted. There you go. Hi. Oh, still muted. Okay, no problem. We'll carry on, and I will raise your hand again if you do want to come back in.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, and the last example is my portrait photo, my theme with the presentation of the three chimpanzees in suits and bright colors and ties. And I think for things that are not too specific, it works great already. And I think it does surprisingly good, brings good results. And the prompting you need to work on, for example, in our tool, we have several examples stated, how it can look like, how prompts can be. But I still think generating pictures out of nowhere saves time and mostly fits for unspecific stuff. But it will be getting better. If you want to really see how the future looks, go to YouTube and type in Sora, SORA, and then Sora OpenAI. And it shows you a demo of OpenAI, what their video generator that's creating videos out of prompts can really do. And that it's scary on the one hand, and on the other hand, I was just blown away what it can do. It's fantastic. Take a look at that, please. And the last step would be to create e-learning content out of a single prompt. We already incorporated that feature into our tool. So if you type in a IMC Express that you like to have a content that has the title "Keep Healthy During Home Office Days" and describe a little bit what you want to do is, for example, the description here would be: when working from home, it's easy to forget to sit in the right ergonomic position, do balancing physical exercises, and take the necessary breaks and rest periods. This interactive training shows how to do it and how to do it right. So that's basically it. And why is it so short? Why does it only, hold 1,000 characters? Because AI up until this point has a very short-term memory. That means it cannot remember more than a few sentences, and after that it's it can't work with that anymore. So they're changing that now, and there's new technology out that will come up in the next couple of months, I think. But out of this really small description and the topic, if you click on create and go grab a coffee, you can come back, and yes, it has built the content. And if you want to take a look at it, then get out your mobile phones now and hold it to the QR code and see what the AI did without me doing anything. It's working great for things that are not too specific either. So don't think it can tell you exactly what your process XYZ does in your company. No, it does not, because there's no information about that. But it does well with a lot of personal trainings, with a lot of leadership training stuff, with a lot of compliance stuff like that. You can get content out of that, and have that as a starting point to get faster and better experiences in content creation. And as I said in the middle somewhere, just be mindful. You need to have the knowledge on the topic to verify if it's actually accurate or not. Just don't forget that. But anyways, it can really help to provide a good starting point. And I think for general trainings, like I said, like really unspecific compliance content or personal development, it might be nice. It worked in the past time for us. So I think it's great. So in the next steps, what will be coming in the next couple of weeks or months, because anything I've shown you up until now is already incorporated in our tool, is incorporated in other tools like you've seen. It's there, it's out there. But what might be even more interesting, and I think that's coming in the next couple of months, will be that you drop content documents that you already have, that already exists in your company. For example, you have a compliance topic, let's say money laundering, and you have specific rules in place in your company. You naturally have content from the compliance department, like let's say Word documents or PowerPoint documents. You drop them on your content and you tell the AI, these are the documents that I would like to have an e-learning content out of them. And I think that's the killer feature we've all been waiting for. And that will mean that AI will be able, or is able actually now, to process more content than ever. So it's able to analyze those documents, and those documents will be used to create content out of it. And it will naturally, that's what we want to do anyways, it will naturally chat with you and asks you, now I've got the structure ready. Do you want it like that, or do you want something different, stuff like that? So we'll interact with you a little bit, a few minutes. And after that, it will have used all your documents that you dropped on it, and it will have, incorporate all what you've chatted with it, and it will basically create an e-learning content out of that. And even after the content is finished, you could go there and chat with it and tell it, I want a new chapter called, I don't know, the problems with money laundering in the, I don't know, whatever countries, and give it a little bit of context in another document or whatever. And then you get a meaningful content out of that as well. So that's to expect in the near future, that the AIs will be able to process more content than ever. And also, they will get more exact, which means they will provide better results, more meaningful stuff. And it's not going to take years, it's going to take months. And then you will see that it's going to be really, really, it's really, really a lot better. And we've seen it with every version so far. They needed to tune down GPT-4 to a more, let's say, stupid version in terms of coding. You can write code with it, programming code, and they needed to tune it down, because if the code examples are badly written, or there's a person who made mistakes in it, it would start to replicate the person and start to replicate the mistakes. So they really needed to tune it down in order to get better results. So I think that's amazing. And lastly, the emergence of multimodal tools that combine text, pictures, videos, and code will basically what will take over the AI market, and all of them are going into the direction. Google Gemini is only multimodal, and OpenAI is working in that direction. And that is then something I think that will be the development. Yeah, I think we can count on it that in a year or so, these things will be there. They will become reality. And it might be faster than we think. And to conclude that, I personally think that AI is nothing to be afraid of. You just need to know how it operates. You just need to know how it works. You just need to know how to incorporate it, that you have more time, have a less stressful business day. And I think it can do all these things. And it can help a lot in the creation of e-learning content. It can enable people who wouldn't have the possibility to do that, to create e-learning content before, because they didn't know how to write a perfect sentence or an understandable sentence, stuff like that. I know that sounds harsh, but that's reality. We've seen it in the last 20 years. And this is where we are. And I really encourage you to test it for yourselves and try it out. I would be at the end of this session now. If there are any questions, I'm just looking at the chats. I don't see a lot of questions. Somebody just wrote that he entered after the presentation started. You will get all the materials and you will get the recording of the webinar naturally after the session. So any contact details might be there and provided for you. And you can contact me anytime. I'm happy to answer all your questions, and also you can have a free trial of IMC Express for 10 days and try it out for yourself. Try out the AI features. Create a text, shorten your text, create pictures with it. I think it's a lot of fun. Right. Since there aren't any questions, Amanda, I would hand over to you.
Thank you, Ollie. Thanks for that session. And it will be so interesting to run this session again in 6 months and see how much more AI has advanced in that time period as well. So thank you, Ollie. That was really great. Thanks everyone for joining us or for watching this session. And yes, don't hesitate to get in touch with the team here at IMC. There's lots of experience. And we look forward to seeing you on another session. Have a great afternoon or evening. Cheers,
Thank you.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.